Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz postmortem video, postmortem of Blitz game number 16, where my opponent managed to transpose into a King's Indian defense, even though I started with e4. So let's see how that happened. So I played e4, as mentioned, and my opponent replied with d6, which you see is not the most usual move, but it's still played fairly often. And this sets up a lot of different possibilities for black. It's really a very flexible move. He can follow up with a knight move or with a pawn move, or he can even transpose into something like a Philidor if he wants to by playing e5. So got a lot of options after that. I proceeded with d4, which is the main move here, and then he went g6. So knight f6 is the main idea, but g6 is a respectable move here too. And now we're in kind of a King's Indian setup, and so I said, well, why don't I play c4, see if we can transpose into a King's Indian defense. But it looks like the main idea here is really knight c3, which is a bit funny. I always think it's strange to block the c-pawn. When the knight comes out to c3, then this pawn is not available to either attack the center or support this pawn. But I think maybe the idea is to later play f4. Or you could bring the other knight out if you want to keep the c-pawn free, bring the other knight to f3. But I played c4 directly. Still a playable move, and he went bishop g7, which is apparently the main idea in this position. So it's caught me by surprise, I guess, and I reacted with bishop to e3, which I don't think was a very good move. There's only 3 games in the database, so you can't judge by that statistic there. But it looks like knight c3 or knight f3 are the main ideas here, with a significant edge to knight c3. So that's the way to play it. And knight c3 would put me in more familiar territory. After bishop e3, we're out of book altogether after he plays e5. So let's go and look at this with Houdini. Yeah, so here, let's make this a little bit smaller so you can see more of the notation tab. Really only the top few lines are interesting. But looks like black can get an advantage here by playing c5. So already it looks like this bishop e3 move was not very accurate. So as we go on, neither of us, of course, is going to make the most accurate moves according to the computer, but you see that the ratings stay in the range of about even. Up until, and even after c6, I get a slight edge here. So there's maybe a larger than normal opening advantage, although the computer thinks I should go ahead and push d5 and play queen c7. No, I should push d5 and play queen d2. That's black playing queen c7. Okay. So that's a way to play it. I chose this bishop e2 line. And developments continue until we get to this point here. See, I still have my slight edge. And f4, that was probably the beginning of my downfall here. So the computer thinks that white is pretty comfortable here, has a significant opening edge, and should follow up with moves like rook c1. You can see that logical move, bringing the rook to the open c file, or queen c2, or b4, which is b4 is not an idea that occurred to me in the game, but it does put the brakes on black's pawns here on the queen side. So all those are legitimate ways to play. This f4 break, it's a little bit loosening. It weakens my center, and it gives black some squares for his pieces. So overall, this just gives black an easy game. So bad move. No other way to put it. That was a mistake. And so he takes advantage of this and gets his knight to e5. And this was my second mistake. And after this, I think goes downhill pretty quickly. Although it's funny, there were still a few things that went on that were kind of curious. So knight c4. First of all, when you look at this position, you see that there's 2 knights protecting the pawn and 1 knight attacking it. But the queen is in line to attack it if this knight ever leaves. So when I play knight c4, I'm removing 1 defender, and I'm giving black the opportunity to trade off that knight. And now all of a sudden, he's got 2 attackers on that pawn, and I just have 1 defender. So he can grab that pawn, and normally in a situation like this, you'd consider a move like rook to e1 to try and pin the pawn. That's even an idea here, but it doesn't actually work. Here, let's go ahead and put it on the board, and you can see what the computer thinks of it. See, black could even go ahead and play knight takes c3 because he's taking the knight, he's attacking my queen, I'm attacking his queen, and this will end up in a lot of trades probably. Knight takes c3, rook takes e7, knight takes d1, rook takes d1. Yeah, so it just removes a lot of material from the board, and black is still a pawn up. Or he could simply play f5 and defend that knight, and I don't have a great way of attacking it. I don't have another pawn that I can use to attack it. All I can do is threaten to trade it with the bishop. So all in all, rook e1 doesn't save the situation. So after he plays knight takes e4, I just went ahead and take. Although queen e2 is the recommended, queen e1 or queen e2 are the recommended moves by the computer there. Okay, so I play knight takes, queen takes, and then I retreat the bishop here. The queen was attacking the bishop, so I had to do something about it. And let's see, one idea is to play queen d3. The computer likes that, but that just leads to a trade, and black is still a pawn up. So that would be a pretty easy win for black if I were to do that. You want to try and keep the material on and make it complicated. If you're down a pawn or so, you want to try and mix things up. So bishop b3, that's a reasonable idea. This bishop e2 has some hidden weaknesses. For one thing, he can play rook e8 and just try and win this bishop, and it's really hard. This bishop doesn't have many good squares to go to. If it goes to one of these squares, it can just get kicked. And if it goes to this square, which is what I was thinking of, that hangs this bishop, right, because it blocks the defense of the rook of that bishop. And then all of these squares are not very good. They all have problems. The bishop gets taken here and here, and if the bishop goes to this square, then the defense of the d-pawn, is interrupted by the bishop on that square, so the queen can just take that pawn. So basically there's no good moves for the bishop. Unfortunate. But he played rook d8 instead, defending this pawn, which I was attacking. And you see black still has a sizable advantage. And now I should play probably rook c1. I think that's, of these two ideas, that's the one that appeals to me. Although bishop g3 has some points, just getting it where it's not a threat. And giving up on this pawn because I'm not going to be able to save it anyway, I guess. But I went here instead, and now he has this great move, bishop f5, and sets up a battery, threatening to take this rook. So queen takes, rook, queen takes queen, bishop takes rook, rook takes bishop. He's won the exchange because he's given up a queen and a bishop, but he's netted a queen and a rook. So again, my best move here is rook c1. For some reason, I had some kind of blind spot about rook c1 during the game. I didn't play that. I played queen d2, so I'm defending the rook this way. But you see, the computer immediately spots the move my opponent played. A very clever move, really. Queen d4 is a check. So it's checking my king, it's attacking my queen, and his queen is defended by the bishop there. So that basically forces the queens off. And when the bishop comes back, that's also check. So I have to move my king out of the way, and then he can grab the exchange here. So a neat maneuver, and leaves him with the queens off the board and just material up. So he's just winning here. And let's see, b5, the move he plays, is the recommended move. And I'm going to race ahead here because he just keeps the advantage for a long time, and there's only one other interesting point I wanted to share with you. And that's when we get up to this position here. Oh, he did force a trade of rooks, which is good for him. When you have this situation where you've got two rooks against two bishops, you want to get rid of one of your rooks and just have a straight rook and bishop against two bishops. And ideally, you want to trade the bishop and get just a straight rook against bishop in game. Those kind of positions are much more favorable to the side with the rook than when there's more material. And what I would like to do is keep all the material on, but he kept putting pressure on me, so I didn't have a way to avoid this trade that I could find during the game. So now He's got a good advantage, and also he's kept my king in prison here. So nice play by black. The one point I wanted to bring up here, which is there's seemingly some wasted moves here, but he isn't giving away the advantage. It's here. Now I'm threatening his rook, and he played rook c2, I think, with the check, but he has a very good alternative here in rook takes c4, and this is often the case in an endgame. You want to, when you're up the exchange, you often want to give up the exchange in return for something that's even better, either a bishop and a pawn, or in this case you get two bishops because I can't stop this pawn from queening. Yeah, let's see, that's not the most accurate way to play it. The best way to play it is, after that exchange, black plays a bishop to here to defend this square. And now it's my turn. The computer recommends bishop d2. King f3 is even worse. Yeah, I have to play bishop d2 to try and get in position to stop the pawn. But my only square is there, and he can play it forward, takes, takes. And that sequence was entirely forced. And you see he's ended up just a whole bishop up. And he's still got 4 pawns to 4. My only hope is if I can get some kind of breakthrough on this side. But his king is close enough to stop that. And with an extra piece, this is just going to be an easy win for black. So that's just something to keep in mind when you see these kind of positions. If you can sack back the exchange and get something in return for it, like an extra pawn or a passed pawn here in this case, that's often the thing to do. It just gives you a winning advantage, and it's a simpler win. But my opponent went on to win anyway, so just play out the rest of the moves. There was one nice trick here towards the end. I was trying to just eliminate as many pawns as I can. But he has this move after I get my bishop over here, exchanging those pawns. He has this nice move, f5 check. And if I take the pawn, then his rook takes my bishop, so that's not good. And if I move here, then his bishop can attack my pinned bishop, so that's not good. And so I chose to move here. I couldn't move down because his bishop was guarding that square. And then he has this nice skewer here. His king is protecting the bishop, so I'm in check. I have to step away, and then he wins the bishop and the game. So I resign here. It was a good game, well played by my opponent in particular, and hope you guys learned something from that, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and leave any comments you have in the section below. Bye.